Permies, and Mike's being distracted as things start up live, but we'll give a few people to come in the room here before we get going, and as we get our computer up and going as well. So today we have, oh, there's Coco. Hi, Coco Noel. How are you today? I hope you had a good week. We'll give people a few minutes to join in our room here and get my computer screen going. So, and hoping the feed goes well today, because I'm a minute or two late because it was saying we had be having problems with our feed, but it seems to be running okay right now, I think. So we'll give people a chance to join in. And I'm going to pop out the chat here. A little buffering. Okay. Well, hopefully, this is through the cell phone. We are maybe close to getting a new internet provider. So hopefully we'll be able to do this through the webcam in not too long. But switch off our current one, which is horrible, horrible, horrible. Anyway, so yes. We have more than one option now. It's exciting. When we moved into this house, we only had one option. That was only like 3 years ago. So we do have a couple options that we're looking at. And I think there's some other people in here as well, but don't see them yet. So give a few people a chance to join in. And that's Homestead Wannabe. Hello, hello. No, you didn't miss it tonight. So tonight we're going to cover a couple things. We do have our herb of the week, which will be mint today. Thanks for the idea, Coco Noel, for that post on the lady who is planting all the mints. And we will be answering a couple of questions. One Rose brought up last week about the turmeric and pepper combination. I did find some information there, and one question about canning that we had on our last video, actually, when we made our Colorado chili. So we're gonna go through a few things, but we have a handful of people in the room so far, so we'll give it another minute or so to see if we get any others, but hopefully we'll get a couple more people in here. But we did have a very local dinner tonight. Yeah. Extremely local.
Yeah, we ate our own chicken, some potatoes. The storage potatoes are doing really well still, packed in hay. Yep. Minimal damage. And then we had greens that were grown and foraged, wintered over greens from 2 local farms. One of them is a greenhouse operation, and one of them is a hoop and forage. So, yep. Just simple roast chicken, roast potatoes. I think the garlic was from Spain. we ran out of our garlic, and I happen to be working with garlic from Spain. It's pretty good.
That's not too local, but the rest of it was.
No, but they know their garlic. So
yes, that's true. Hi, Aim. Hi, welcome. So, are you guys interested in some books on water gardening, ornamental trees and shrubs, best practices, and potted gardens? She's paring down. Wow.
We can't hold any water on our property, so that's probably a no-go. But yeah, that's
potted gardens.
We wish we could hold it.
Yeah,
hold some water.
We have completely sandy soil here, so our water filters straight through to our aquifer underneath. So we have nice filtered water in our house, as far as drinking water goes. But oh, hi, Finite World.
If there's anything on potted gardening or indoor growing, greenhouse growing,
yeah,
that's probably working towards plans or beginning plans on a greenhouse, but that's quite a ways off. We got projects before that.
Yeah. So, and Helix
water gardening with tarps. Well, yeah, you could do that.
Huh. Interesting. Are there different kinds of mints? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
A whole lot of different kinds of mints. Peppermint, spearmint, catnip is a mint. There's I want to say 80.
Did we say that? What was it? Patchouli? That was related to mint, or that was something else? What was I reading?
I
I didn't realize patchouli was a leaf.
I believe so. Actually, let me pull up. I did have everything in the family, which includes mint, also includes thyme, hyssop, balm, basil, betony?
Yeah, betony.
Bugle, oregano, rosemary, dittany. There you go. Lavender, marjoram, sage, and savory is all in the same family.
Yeah, because they all have a lot of menthol components.
Exactly.
And, things.
And the very aromatic herbs, basically. So we will be going over our mint today, which actually will be... I have way too many windows open on my computer. Sorry about that. Which we'll be focusing on peppermint, but the problem with some of the studies is that they don't always focus on the same species of mint. But we'll go through that in a little bit. We had a couple things. Did we have anyone else enter in? Aim High's in here. Coco's in here. Finite World. Okay. I was trying to see if I missed anything. Said wannabe, of course. So gardening with tarps, we use a Rubbermaid cattle trough, 3 feet deep.
Patchouli's in the mint family. Yes, that's what I did read.
Okay. Yep. Another.
Pogostemon.
Is that the scientific name?
That's what it says.
Okay. So just going through, we have a ton of mint, and there's a lot of wild ones. There's a lot of cultivated ones. I guess a lot of types are actually native to Europe and Asia area. In fact, I think it originated, cooking-wise, it originated primarily in the Middle East and then east to India and things. Have it in a ton of dishes. So we'll get to that as well. Just checking in, seeing if everyone's saying hi to each other. So, did I miss somebody here? YB. Yes, Family Farm. YB Family. And Lois Ann. I missed you guys. Hello. So we have a decent group going. I was wondering if Rose was going to join us tonight. I might give her a minute before I answer her question from last week. But we did have a question on our Colorado chili video this week. Someone asked if we ever can soups. So I'd figure I kind of expand that to, what do we can, what do we not can, and what do we can if we have time. So this is kind of more of a question for Mike, but, kind of why we do what we do as far as freezing versus canning things a little bit. So if you wanted to go through kind of what things we definitely
I think
can.
there's a lot of variables and reasons, and there's a lot of good reasons or right answers to it. Basically, we can very little. We tend to do jams and fruit items, which are perishable and do well under canning, things that are sweetened. We did can some salsa because salsa doesn't freeze very well. And
that video's coming. Yeah.
Oh, and we had a volume of that, so you can't use it all. So some good reasons are obviously storage. Now, canning, if you have electrical problems and you're concerned that you're going to lose electricity, then canning is the only way to go. So from a homesteading or traditional approach, canning is the safest. We don't pressure can because we don't have a pressure canner, but we do boiled water,
water bath,
water bath and acidic canning. If I had a pressure canner, there's some really cool things you can do because you start changing chemistry, and that sort of comes around to why we don't can as much, because you have to be a lot more attentive to your time, because you can overcook things and you can either lose some of the vitamins and minerals, mostly the vitamins, but also you can just degrade the product, its color, its texture, its flavor. Now, some of those flavors develop and become nicer and more complex with canning and storage, and some things don't appear to be like you would expect them when they're fresh. So tomatoes can great. Salsas do pretty well, although you can lose coloration and texture. Basically, if you can time your canning so that things finish cooking right about the time they get hot enough and have enough time to heat their safety points for canning, it's an ideal candidate. Now, coming from more of a restaurant background, we don't have time to can and we don't have the volume. So we freeze lots of things. Now, sometimes we bag them and like, food saver type bags to reduce, or ice glaze them or lay them out, or things to try and reduce degradation from frostbite and freezer burn. But the biggest thing that I guess I consider is freezing's very easy. If you have a chest freezer, you can put in a food saver, a Ziploc bag, lay them out. Yep, it saves time. You put it in there and you move on with your day because you don't always have time to do it. So canning, I consider it a high energy activity because you have to pull out special equipment and you have to get jars. You have to own the jars or wash and sanitize them. Then you have to go through the whole process of boiling water, preparing the items, checking pH. And so there's a whole process and equipment and time. And then there's also physical energy on your end and, of course, energy and in the heat energy.
And time is one thing we don't have a lot
Yeah,
of
the heat
here.
energy is not really a big concern because it's pretty cheap for us. But yeah, time, energy, and deciding to can something has to be planned into the week, or you got to find when you're going to do it.
Yeah.
In fact, we have missed making jams or harvesting fruit or buying local fruit and canning, peaches or cherries, specifically because we couldn't predict planning it. And if you buy $50 to $100 worth of product, we want to make sure it's preserved.
Yeah.
So I see it actually as a high intensity activity, even though I know a lot of people disagree and say it's a low intensity. It doesn't fit into our scheme nearly as nicely as throwing it in the freezer and then you can come back to it later. You can still can from frozen.
Yeah.
Also,
and we did.
And
our next video is going
we
to.
we made marinara from frozen tomatoes, which could have gone right into a can. They could have been hot packed and canned. That would have been very acceptable. Again, I didn't want to use the glass and go through the process of boiling. We could just stick it in containers and put it back in the chest freezer, and then you warm it up. So that's sort of the way we look at it. I also, when you freeze things, you also maximize your vitamin and nutrient content because freezing doesn't degrade texture somewhat, but it doesn't degrade nutrients very much at all. So it's almost like having fresh. Yeah. So in that way, depending on how I want to cook with it, there can be some nutritional advantages. So I think balancing it out, letting people really decide. You make your own decisions. I don't think there's a particularly right answer, but
yeah. But it's balancing time, nutrition, and what you're really wanting to do with that product. One thing we're highly limited on is time because we both work full time. So neither of us are stay at home. Well, you work at home, but that doesn't mean you have time at home to do other things. So, so it does limit us on that respect. And when it takes, full days to do a whole lot of canning at certain times, but we do it at times. We didn't have any videos on it this year because I think we did most of our jams the year before, and we still have.
I only made strawberry jam this year. Yeah. Last year I canned and packed strawberries. Canned and packed cherries in water, made cherry jam, made brandied cherries, made strawberry, raspberry, made a blackberry, wild berry blend. So I did a lot of that. So we still are sitting on some of it, but also I probably would have done more with cherries at least, or maybe canned some peaches later on, but it didn't fit in. I was way too busy with work. And I guess that goes back to a big question on homesteading is the reality of kind of the hardcore homesteader becomes a full-time job plus, and you still limit your access to product and your ability to either grow it or income. Every time you do it, you need to decide what the inputs are and can you do it better than somebody else.
And where the priorities are.
Yeah. And frequently you can't, especially since we're part-time just doing things, a lot of it for fun, but also for realistic reasons. We have to be very careful about what projects because, you got to you get the seeds, but then they never get grown, or you get the seeds in the ground and then you can't take care of them, or then you can't harvest them on time. And then you have to go do something with it, or you get way too much. I don't mind having too much so much because we tend to compost and send it to chickens.
Yeah. nothing gets wasted.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
we don't eat
so-
all of it, but I don't consider giving it to the chickens for feed wasting.
No, it's not
so-
intentional, but we have no. In fact, this year we're thinking about growing more grain crops,
Yeah.
especially like buckwheats and more, low impact
Sorghum
grains.
and stuff.
I don't know how much we're really going to use because there you're looking at, we're not going to buy grains because threshing and milling and preparing things is extremely difficult and intensive to do it at the quality level that you can even buy high quality specialty or organic grains.
Yeah.
It's not that expensive in the world of food. Growing grains is not our priority. We're going to let somebody else do that. And so that's, I think, a really big discussion on why people do things or what they choose to do. And
Which things do you grow and which things do you purchase is the big question on a lot of it. What makes sense to grow and what makes sense to either find a local farm to get things from, do exchanges with people, or
and you have the economic impact of, can you spend your time making money so that you can buy the things that you need that are more predictable or balanced. That's why when we were living around big cities, you'll find that people make a lot more money, they spend a lot more money, they go out a lot. In fact, say around if you live in Manhattan, you probably eat the majority of your meals. You either eat at a restaurant, you take it to go, you buy prepared food, semi-prepared food, you go to a deli, you order in meal kits, you have a private chef. You don't actually cook from you don't actually cook from scratch, because even though that's very expensive, the amount of money you make and the amount of money you need to take in to maintain living is so much more. Your time is more precious, so food becomes something that somebody else does for you. One of the advantages of when we came back here, we could focus more on doing these things because the economic advantages shift.
Yeah.
And so we could actually be profitable for us, or for our own personal use, to be more involved in handling some of those things. Not that I always cooked. We never lived.
No.
We never existed primarily off prepared food, but we did go out or buy things to go
a little more often.
Probably 2 or 3 times more often than now. Now we do it occasionally, whereas it was semi-regular previously. So
that 1870s homesteads here. Hello. And Coco, Vicky's Country Channel. I don't think I haven't gotten a recent video sent to us for the collaboration. So if anyone's interested in sending us a video, please feel free to join our cooking collaboration. It's all on winter cooking and everything like that. So we have the Pratts in there. We have, we do have Rose.
A couple other people.
Wholesome Roots. So a few other people have said they're going to do it. We haven't gotten those yet, but just if you're doing that, please just shoot us a link and we'll connect it to our playlist and put that in there. So yeah, I think that's going to be ongoing all winter through probably the end of February or early March, so that if you guys are interested in joining, or if you're planning on doing a video along those lines anyway, taking what you've grown in the winter, how do you use your product, how do you store it, how do you can it, any of those things, it's basically continuing through the winter. So feel free to join us on that. And hello, Food Forest, another joiner in here. So yeah, and Coco Noel posted. Is that the link to Vicky's Country Home or the link to our collab? The link will tell you about. Oh, it's her giveaway. Okay. So she's giving away a pressure canner. If you want one.
Well, it's funny what you can with a pressure canner. You can do some crazy stuff with bones.
Yeah.
So now, like the big deal, everybody's talking about bone stocks and making bone stocks, which I think is great. But it's my pet peeve is it's always been called stock, and stock has always been made with meaty bones, and jus and broths are made from meat and other things, or vegetables, roasting products, but not bones. So coming from a classical cook perspective, it's stock. So when everybody calls it bone stock
or bone broth,
it's
driving him nuts.
I'm always like, well, no kidding. Of course it is. It's a stock. But you can do, and it gets a little bit technical, but if you take your scraps, bones, tendons, fat, skin, things you would just throw away or compost that seem almost completely useless for eating, and you put them in a pressure cooker. There's some protocols, and sometimes a touch of soy, and where you roast them very dark without burning them, and then you pressure cook them. You can get a liquid that comes off of it that's very similar to doing like a 12 or 24 hour stock or demi-glace recipe, and then with some light adjustments and some light thickening, you can get something that appears to be like bone stock demi. And that's sort of the way the big companies make the meat glazes, glace and base, which then they add a lot of other junk to it. But that's how they industrially do it. So with a pressure canner, you can do some really, really cool stuff. Yeah, aspic is basically clarified stock. So you make stock with bones, you defat it, you clarify it, which is the same process as making consommé, and then you reduce it down, usually triple or quadruple until it becomes thick, and you're basically concentrating the gelatin. You can also add separate gelatin to it if you need to. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you even add in chicken feet or pork skin or different things, pork knuckles. So you get a high gelatin content, and then it becomes aspic, or becomes a natural gelatinized meat jelly that can be glazed and on top of things, which is sort of an old school. Mostly because it's expensive and time consuming, but it is good when done correctly.
And Food Force, I hope you get the video and sound back. It looks like other people are still getting it. So we were having some warnings that we might have some refreshing and things like that. And just want to say hi to Daisy as well, watching from Michigan. You're watching us in Michigan as well.
And it's crazy foggy here too.
Yes, and that 1870s homestead in Michigan as well, and Coco Noel in Michigan. And actually, I think the majority of this room is probably from Michigan, although not all of everybody is from Michigan. So, yes, our crazy warm January weather with fog.
Homestead wannabes, Michigan.
Yeah, wow. I think not quite all, because Food Force Permaculture, where are you? I forget where you are.
Where's Two Family Homestead? We can take over their Ohio State
oh boy
pitches from last week.
Yeah, we were on Two Family Homestead last week on Monday night. We were live on their show, and of course Two Family Homestead
had to get a Buckeye pitch in there.
Yeah, they had to get a Buckeye thing. We're both from Ann Arbor originally.
So
it's go blue here.
We're Michigan fans.
Yes.
So I know not everybody in the state's Michigan fans, but
well, of course, this side of the state we actually get a lot of Michigan State, Michigan, and Notre Dame mix.
Well, we live right next to Western, so
yeah. Well, of course,
big presence with Western. So yes, lots of university allegiances here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We attended none of the above. So.
That's true. So. Okay, so Freedom Homestead, hello, nice to have you guys. That's is that Tangy there? So we were just chatting about canning and stocks and versus bone broths and technical definitions. But
Tangy cans a lot, right? I think I've seen a bunch of stuff from.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Going back to our reasons to and not to can.
Yeah, I mean our biggest issue is we can what we think is best. Absolutely needs to go in a can if you're going to store it, but otherwise we have to kind of budget our time in what we're doing and figuring out what's the best
I like
thing.
Freezers, but I also don't spend my day in a cave where canning would work really nice. So
yeah, talking about Jack and Tangy both there. Okay, good. Hello both of you.
There was
Welcome.
Questions about different mints, which I know.
Yes,
further.
So our herb of the week, to get on to that, herb of the week is mint, and there are a ton of different types of mint. The main one I was going to go through is peppermint, which is actually a hybrid. It's a hybrid between spearmint and watermint. And it does happen naturally where both species occur. So naturally they occur around the Mediterranean primarily, but people have moved them all over the place, and they will grow in a wide range of zones. And by the way, they're great to plant, but be careful because they'd like to take over gardens because they do grow very well. and they're ground cover. And so you want to either plant them in an enclosed area or constantly harvest them.
Are they nitrogen fixing also?
I did not see anything on mint being nitrogen fixing,
they're
but
early
I did.
invasives.
And I did, yeah, they are early and they can be invasive. Some others in that family are, so I wouldn't be surprised if they are, but, because what was it, a few weeks ago when we had bergamot, that's in the same, wild bergamot, that is, not the citrus one, it's in the same family, and that one is a nitrogen fixer.
What's the color of the flower?
Of peppermint?
Yeah.
Purple.
Purple, okay.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the nitrogen fixers are either purple
flower.
or pink.
Yeah.
Almost always when they're that color.
Occasionally they'll have a white one here or there, but yeah, the purple flowers, a lot of them are nitrogen fixers. But yeah, so they are very easy to grow, and you can harvest their leaves and the flowers for anything. Obviously a ton of culinary uses. So the ones I pulled out of books instead of his brain were obviously the teas, hot tea, iced tea, garnishes for iced tea or lemonade, mixed with ice cream or sorbets or cream cheese, or mixed into fruit salads, or baked with fish or lamb. Well, of course, mint with lamb, right? Of course, you have your jelly, too.
No jelly with the lamb, please.
I'd rather taste the lamb, not the jelly.
Yeah, if it's good lamb, I want to. Only if it's bad lamb, old stinky lamb, or something that I want to cover it up.
In the Middle East and in Greece and India, they mix it into yogurt and cucumber. So there's a bunch of different dishes
blends,
with that.
All kinds of
Middle
stuff.
Eastern meatballs have mint in it. And stuffed grape leaves will have mint along with rice and lamb and lemon. So there's a lot of Middle Eastern dishes and Greek dishes and Indian dishes. And for that matter,
Africa
Vietnamese.
Too, they use mint and African, some of the spice blends.
Yeah. Vietnamese dumplings, imperial rolls. I mean, we could go on and on about that. I just listed a few in there, as well as putting it into oils or vinegars or jellies or whatever. So as far as making you hungry, sorry, you just saw that. I know a lot of these, I love Middle Eastern food and Greek food and all that Mediterranean area food, as well as Indian. I just love food from all other parts of the world. But as far as medicinal uses, so obviously we know we can cook with mint. Mint tea actually was one of the suggestions that when I worked in a prenatal unit that our doctors would suggest to our pregnant women who were having a lot of morning sickness. That was kind of their first go-to to suggest, and if it didn't work, then they would go beyond that to try to help them out, depending on how much hydration they were losing. But so it has been used for motion sickness and morning sickness to help with the nauseousness. So that is a big part. It, of course, relieves gas as well. Another reason people drink a glass of tea or have a mint after dinner. It does have antimicrobial effects to it. So there are people who will use it like as a chest rub for colds and the flu and basically respiratory infections. The leaves, obviously, if you chew on the leaves, it can actually freshen the breath and reduce the bacterial count in your mouth. So that was kind of the original toothbrush in a way.
Hobby Homestead from North Carolina's back.
Cool, hi.
Aim High back from the other side of the state.
Yep. So mint tea with the chemo, and actually that was one of the studies that I was looking at, was talking about helping with nauseousness due to chemotherapy or radiation therapy, and they definitely saw that it helped. It tends to be mild, so for some people it'll help, some people it's not quite enough. Might depend on the type of chemotherapy, because there's a ton of different types out there too, and they each have their own effects. But so yeah, there's a lot of different aspects to it, but that is the primary use I would say I've heard of, is with the nauseousness and helping people.
We had an interesting this fall. There was a guy next to our booth at the farmers market who was selling mint from a
local
third generation mint farm.
Yeah.
This area has a history of some very large mint farms that Some of them were contracted to sell to Wrigley exclusively, and other things. So we have a big spice and essence processing facility for food that they take natural products and they distill out essences, so they're all natural product. They've been doing it all along that way, which is now all of a sudden very trendy. But so there's a lot of mint grown in this area. So this guy sells mint oils,
peppermint and spearmint.
Yeah, and he says that his, they say they're unique because they're working off a rootstock that hasn't been genetically modified or hybridized. So they're working off of their original rootstock, and he claims that a lot of the current mint oils and mints are so hybridized, they're a little bit strong.
Yeah.
So they say they do a steam removed mint oil that's very natural, and they do the spearmint and the peppermint, which...
Well, the peppermint itself is a hybrid. It's actually, I said earlier, a hybrid between spearmint and water mint, but it has stronger oils than each of those individual types in it. So, which was kind of interesting, which is why a lot of people, if you're just talking about mint, usually you're talking about peppermint. Because that's the type that most people are using in, in mint candies and mint tea and all of that. But yeah, this guy, he was an interesting guy to talk to too, because he was talking about the opposite effects of the mint, which you do find.
Warming versus cooling.
Warming versus cooling. Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of the articles I was reading was saying that they have both effects. Even peppermint will do both things. It'll have a cooling sensation, but it'll also help warm and stimulate sweating, actually. So it is kind of interesting along those lines. But he was talking about using peppermint for respiratory and spearmint for muscle aches. Because that is another thing that I came up with, is it helps relieve pain. So for headaches and muscle aches primarily. And he was talking about using spearmint in massage oils, whereas peppermint you'll drink or use for rub on the chest for respiratory issues. So it was kind of interesting.
And it's interesting that mint, while it has a flavor or you perceive an essence, mint is actually the menthols and the oils do more than that. So there are classifications of foods that we eat that have effects on our nervous system more so than on our taste. So ginger, mint, hot pepper. So you have a couple of things. So you can have a physiological burn, which I think mint has a little bit of, but you can also get a trigeminal effect, which is your trigeminal nerve. You can stimulate a nerve with certain things. I believe ginger might do that. And that's why some of these flavors don't sort of register the way other things do, because they're affecting our stomach, which has all kinds of receptors we don't perceive on sort of a cognizant level. So things are going on in our stomach, things are going in our brain, things are going in the back of our mouth and our throat and our nose that go far beyond the essences of smell.
Yeah. And by the way, we have had a whole bunch of people just join in. So Jackie, good morning to you, because I know you're all the way over there in Australia, I want to say. So hello to you. The Neil's Homestead, hello. Thank you for your running all our videos. That's crazy. That's nice, though. I've been actually doing that a little bit with a couple channels.
Papa's looking for subscribers for people that don't subscribe and follow them yet.
And by the way, which I will change the topic to the subscriber thing for a second. I do want to thank all those the smaller channels. We've been, especially those on the Facebook group for the Small Homestead channel Facebook groups, helping each other out, trying to get the subscribers. I think that's awesome. I think our subscribers has gone up about 100 people in the last week, partially because of that. And I know people are cross-subscribing back and forth and running people's videos all day, even if they're not watching it, because we don't have all day to watch everything. But it's just helping people. If you guys don't know, YouTube is actually changing their minimum for when you could start earning from the ads. And we've met the previous minimum ourselves. We met that last summer. We have not gotten a paycheck yet because they don't pay you out until you hit $100.
Because we're tiny.
And we're at about $70, so we're not that far away from a first paycheck. But unless we hit 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours watched, it'll go on hold until we hit that minimum. So basically, all these small YouTube channels, a lot of them are in the room right now. Please cross-subscribe to them. I highly, suggest that. So Papa's at 200, having a giveaway for hitting 200 subscribers. A $20 Lowe's gift card. That's always useful. Just to kind of go, mention that to you guys. If you want to go cross-subscribe to anyone in the room, I would suggest it. The other thing I'll suggest, I haven't seen in the room yet, but Peoria dude, Bobblehead Homestead, Jeff over there, he is on every one of his videos. He's mentioning one or two small YouTube channels, and kind of giving shouts out to them so his viewers can go and subscribe to other small channels and help them out, including some that are really close to that subscriber minimum. So I just wanted to put that out there. Yeah, Bobblehead Homestead is one of my favorite. We've basically been back and forth with our subscriber numbers. Him passing us up every once in a while. I think we're about 50 subscribers ahead right now, and just going back and forth. We're pretty much even. So, yes, Lucas Grows Best. Go check him out. Hello. Anyway, so I just wanted to kind of go through that for you guys as well, because it is something that everybody has to hit by February 20th if they're going to continue to earn any money from their ads. So thanks, Food Force. Thanks for joining us. And thanks for subbing, Lucas. So anyway, I was going to go through some of the mint. As far as I've been talking about the traditional medicine, and as far as studies go, there's a lot of preliminary studies, not a whole lot of human studies, case control studies that I've seen yet, but there's a lot of studies that pretty much confirm almost all the uses I've mentioned that were in traditional uses. So I did want to kind of put that out there as well. And like I said, I've seen it be suggested in medical settings for when people have nauseousness, whether it's cancer treatment related or pregnancy related. That does seem to be, a first go-to, because it's a fairly safe thing to take. It doesn't seem to counteract any of the medications. The only warnings I saw was that if someone's ingesting really high concentrations, it can actually cause an upset stomach or muscle spasms. And they were talking about maybe even miscarriage, but they're talking about taking high concentrations of it. So anything in moderation, right? And for some people who have heartburn or acid reflux, they sometimes have an increase in symptoms with taking mint. So kind of interesting that some of the things it's supposed to help. If you take it too much, it actually makes it worse in the end. So keep it in moderation.
Well, that's what Daryl Patton said. He goes, he had a theory which is interesting, that almost nothing in the plant world is toxic.
Yeah.
It's just that they all have their own use and they all have their own dose. So his theory was that you stick something in your mouth or you chew on it, and if it doesn't taste good, you spit it out. That maybe it has a small effect, maybe it's useful, but very rarely is it actually full-on toxic. No, I think you got to be pretty careful with that. But that's an interesting theory.
Yeah, so. And obviously there are things that if you go out and just randomly pick the nightshades and eat the wrong part of the plant or whatnot, it is going to cause you problems. So you do want to know what it is. But then again, you go and take some of the most poisonous plants, foxglove and other things, and they're actually used in medicines. But for specific purposes and at specific doses. So you really got to watch that and know that. Finite World is headed out. Thanks for joining us. Ginger tea and mint before surgery was recommended to Coco Noel years ago. Yeah, I can see that because a lot of the pain meds might cause nauseousness and things as well. So ginger is another one that's often used to help treat nauseousness. In fact, I have a bad experience with that one. I cannot drink ginger ale or Werner's. For those of you from Michigan who know Werner's, I cannot drink that anymore because my sister and I were both horribly sick with a stomach bug when we were kids at a babysitter house, and she forced us whenever we were awake to drink more and more and more Werner's and ginger ale. And we were so sick that I just had this connection with that drink and being sick to my stomach. And if I taste that flavor in that drink, forget it. I'm done. I love ginger though. Ginger in other dishes, fine. But yeah, you don't want to cause an adverse effect by making that a mental association. I'm sure it is, but it was not good. Can't stand that flavor anymore. Relieve gas prior to anesthesia. Yeah, making recovery easier. I could definitely see that. Yeah, it is horrible, Eli. Sorry.
I love ginger ale.
Yeah, you do.
I like strong Caribbean gingers. I don't mind Werner's, but I like a lot of the Caribbean style, or making like ginger tea with boiled ginger. And then, of course, the traditional yacht club drink, the Dark and Stormy, is one of the most amazing mixed cocktails out there. So. Oh
boy. Yes, and if Lucas needs subs, I haven't got. What I'll do is I'll pull your channel up off to the side, and I'll have to go sub later. It's hard to multitask while running a live show, but yeah. You love Werner's Cocoa. Oh, I'm already subscribed.
Oh. Well.
I'm already subscribed to Lucas. So
you don't need to do it later.
We don't need to do it later. I've subscribed to so many people that I forgot who I subscribed to. Anyway. So, and I know I'm subscribed to Papa's Homestead, I believe, as well. So, yeah. Okay, I'm just trying to see if there's any other questions. Any other questions on mint? Now, as far as identifying, I think there was a question way back when about identifying mint. If you have what you think is a wild mint growing, my suggestion is try to find a local forager. Because I personally won't be able to identify it.
But if you break it and smell it, you'll be a long way. If it smells herbaceous and not minty or bitter, you're definitely... out of that area. Don't confuse poison ivy. Obviously, it looks different, but
I have a video on poison ivy. It's called Leaves of Three, and it's comparing poison ivy leaves to berry leaves, because those come in leaves of three too. Your raspberries, your dewberries, your blackberries, your strawberries. Those are all leaves of three.
And by the way, basil. We talk basil in the same family.
Yeah.
As mint the. Menthols and the characteristics of basil, and especially like Italian style basil, the Genovese basils, the characteristic we don't always put with it is that it actually is menthol.
That's interesting.
That is a primary flavor that we're introducing into our tomato products.
Lucas, you blended poison ivy and made a smoothie with it? You could join Daryl Patton in that one.
That's not one for me.
No, I'm not allergic to poison ivy, or I've never had a reaction to it, but I'm not going to ingest it. Daryl Patton, we have a video from the Homesteaders of America conference, which I got permission to put up on Daryl Patton's foraging. And he technically does he said he originally took a piece of bread and the tiniest little leaf of poison ivy you could find, and wrapped that in the bread and ate it, and basically did that every day and built up a tolerance to poison ivy. I don't suggest it. I don't want someone to go into anaphylactic shock because they're allergic to it, but
or hives in the intestines.
Because it is an allergy. That's the problem there. So oh, here's another person. Is it Bree Snyder? So, hello. We got more and more people coming in. So, any other questions about mints? I mean, there are some wild ones that I know that I've identified in our backyard. So, if you're Michigan, we definitely have bergamot, which is a type of mint. of mint, wild bergamot. And the bee balms are in the same family as well. They don't taste minty, but they are in the same family as well. So there are some wild ones. The horse mint, which is actually one of the bee balms, grows wild back here. It's got a really cool flower, so maybe I'll post that at some point on our webpage. And by the way, if you want to see all the information I gathered on the mint, down below, and there's a link to our webpage where I do a blog that's once a week, or Herb of the Week, that I tie into the show. So you can always check that out down below, and it gives you all the information on what we've been talking about with today's show. And Coco found the Leaves of 3 video, so if you want to see it, if you want to make sure you know what poison ivy is.
Somebody had mentioned earlier their favorite mint was chocolate mint. That's one of my favorites also. I've used it in like Thai rolls, like summer rolls,
like with imperial roll.
Like rice paper wraps, non-cooked rolls, because I think it's so nice. It's a good add-in in place of Thai basil or holy basil. I worked at a hotel that had an herb garden that had 20 or 30 types of mint and at least 15 types of thyme off in a specialty garden, and that was about it. I think those were the 2 main items.
Yeah.
So at the end of the season, as it was getting cold and we were running out of herbs and stuff, we were given permission to go in there, and basically I clear cut it, down a variety at a time, and used it in the cooking. Now, some of them were not so desirable for cooking savory items, but but chocolate mint is an amazing garnish item, and the opal basils and the Thai basils and things that are similar, have similar characteristics to mint, are a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, yeah, there are a ton of different ones you can buy seeds for and grow. Just keep in mind that the mints, they spread through their roots, so they grow like crazy. But I believe a lot of them, when their shoots touch the soil, they'll also send down new roots. Mm-hmm. So they do go nuts. So you want to have them in a special place where they're contained. Container would work well. I've actually been thinking, except it's in the shadiest spot of our yard, but we do have a couple beds that we don't really keep anything in our patio area. The problem is our patio faces north.
Well, mint doesn't need full sun.
It doesn't need full sun, so we might actually do well there. Catnip is a mint also. That's in that same plant family. So we do have catnip growing on our hugelkultur bed, and as well as spearmint growing on our hugelkultur bed. And I believe I picked up some peppermint seeds this year, so we do have some more mints. I don't know if I picked up chocolate mint. I may have. I did a M.I. Gardner purchase, which ended up being, I don't know, like 100 different things of seeds, which was only supposed to be replacing kind of what we were low on. Yeah, that actually ended up being a lot bigger purchase. But they're so cheap there. So if you guys need seeds, check out M.I. Gardner. They sell seeds from small farms that they purchase. And all organic or nearly organic. I don't think any of them, some of them are not necessarily certified. So, but anyway, check that out. Any other questions on the mint or the canning things that we have? Yeah, M.I. Gardner is a great place to get seeds, so check that out. Coco, if you could get the link up there, that would be great. Trying to see if I missed anything else in here. Basil, oregano, mint, they're all in the same family, so a lot of your your aromatic herbs. Checking, because there was a lot of chat earlier. Okay, I don't think we missed anything recent anyway. So Coco's going to be right back. Anyway, I'm trying to think. We do have videos coming out this week. I'm going to give a winter update on the flock and garden, because we do have one hooped bed with stuff growing in it. So, well, not growing, holding, more like it. It's not dying. So that, and we've gotten down to -10. I hadn't checked out the garden all
2-3 weeks.
Oh gosh, in a month.
I was out there, probably 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I harvested some.
Oh, you did harvest
some greens that we used.
Yeah, you were. Yeah, a few weeks ago, Mike harvested mustard greens from.
Mustard and some. Did I get some of the pak choi or?
You may have gotten a little bit of the pak choi. Mustard greens, pak choi, and our spinach are what's doing best out there. Our chard didn't germinate well when I planted it, so it may have been older stock. I'm not sure, but we do have a few plants out there. And
mint will grow inside for sure. It's a weed. It's an herb weed. It'll grow anywhere if it has a little soil and a little water.
Anywhere, zones 5 to 9, outside, inside, and I believe it'll survive the winter in most places because as long as the roots hold, it'll keep going. And I did see in one of the books that they said if you're even in a zone colder than 5, try it out because if you have a mild winter, it'll probably still grow.
Or you get it snow packed early so it doesn't burn out.
Yeah, basically, if you get enough snow on
mint
it.
going around fruit trees, any of the resinous herbs generally are good for resisting a variety of pests because they don't like to eat them. They're too strong. They don't like to cross that barrier if it's dense enough. So, in fact, a combination of culinary herbs can be part of a nice resistance for certain bugs. It'll also bring in bees and pollinators, which like it. So, no harm done, and you need to access them and cook with them regularly anyways. So.
And I do know a lot of people will plant their aromatic herbs, including mint and basil and all these things in this family, around the perimeter of their garden to prevent some of the pests, or they'll scatter it within their garden to prevent some of the pests from building up because it does seem to it attracts the pollinators, but it detracts the pest bugs.
And I don't think it doesn't bother the birds, so the birds will come in and go get bugs.
Yeah.
And some of the other things that eat, I don't know for certain about, deer and rabbits and other things that may eat bark or eat young shoots, sometimes they're somewhat put off by those items and maybe a little less prone to go in and get to the trunks of young plants.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, those types of herbs, I would scatter them everywhere around in the garden, around the fruit trees and everything.
You can always mow them and it smells good if they get out of hand.
You could just make a yard out of them. Actually, I did see, I'm trying to remember where I saw it now. I did see a suggestion where they were talking about older yards, like from a couple hundred years ago. Instead of grass, it was oftentimes like thyme and oregano that they were just growing as yards.
Well, think about in Provence, herbs de Provence are the natural herbs or weeds that just kind of grew everywhere, and they're blended together as a seasoning.
Yeah.
And so that involves things that are similar to marjorams or oreganos, thyme. Of course, lavender is key in that, which is unique because most other people don't cook with it. But they use, and there is actually, in a true herbs de Provence from France, there are some lesser known herbs or weeds that end up in that blend that we don't really have around here, even though we can mimic it. So, using that as your general landscape or fodder in fields. Our chicken feed guy, Southwest Michigan Feed, he grinds and blends his own feed among selling a few others, and his feed is extremely popular. He adds in lavender oil, I think it was thyme or orange oil. He told me he adds in a couple of oils because his feed smells kind of funky. It's like,
it smells super sweet.
I was always like, what's the deal with that? It's weird. And then he incidentally was talking about, he goes, well, I actually add in essential oils
to the feed
to calm and entice the chickens and build their nutrition. Yeah. But it was 2 or 3 items go in with his blend of other grains. So that's pretty interesting. I don't know how many other feed, small or large feed companies are doing that.
No. Aim High had a house that used to be covered. Everyone knew when she was cutting her backyard, that would smell so good.
I love chervil, by the way, Coco. That's one of my favorite herbs. It's way underutilized. People don't know what it is, and it's mild. It tastes like tarragon, like sweet anise, but it's even milder than tarragon, so it's not offensive for many people. It's a traditional in the in the Fiend Herbs blend. Your delicate herbs that are chopped up and finished. Although many people don't buy it, it's kind of hard. Retail, it's really hard to get, even professionally. I found it a little bit hard to order it here. In New York, I bought it quite a bit. But
I'll have to try to grow it.
Cherville's great, and it's these really delicate leaves. It sort of looks like very, very young coriander or cilantro. But it's got a pattern like that. It's a light green, super delicate, and it has a very sweet and light anise licorice flavor, but again, not generally offensive.
Is that the same as Sweet Sicily that we're gathering wild?
It has the same flavor. I think it might be a wild Cherville. I think we talked about that. And I was,
Nabi, who we go foraging with, we've talked about it multiple times. There's Sweet Sicily that grows wild around here that has a slight sweet anise flavor in the leaf.
And tarragon does that at the end. You get this
but the
flavor
root was stronger. The root was stronger on it because we had that this fall as well. But
they're related for certain. They're very similar, even the leaf pattern, but I think one's a wild and one's a cultivated. And so these are the type of things, like Cherville's very expensive. Farmer's market may not be that bad, but it's kind of rare to get it. You can grow it inside or outside, and all of a sudden you've got a really specialty, really specialty item that you get for almost no cost.
And by the way, Coco, yes, I posted on Instagram and Facebook a little clip on Lucky doing his water dance. So yes, you're right. Lucky did get into his pool this week. We melted enough to refill the pools with water, and he loved it. And there will be a clip into my next video on the winter coop and stuff, because I did have, if you noticed in that was with my cell phone that I took. I had my camera actually sitting on a block of ice next to the pool waiting for him to go in, so I did catch it, longer version on that camera. So hi, Wholesome Roots. Favorite live show. Aw, thanks. And Two Family Homestead is both.
Yeah, we were watching a bunch of Two Family. Or no, we were watching.
Oh no, Liam's sick. Oh boy, sorry.
Yeah, we were. Well, Friday night we were watching Wholesome Roots for a little bit, and Oh no, I guess it was yesterday we were watching a bunch of the Pratts had all kinds of stuff going on. Yeah, we were watching a couple of Pratts last night, because catching up a little bit on them. It's another one of my favorite channels out there. Wholesome Roots, the Pratt Family Homestead, Grass-Fed Homestead, and Bobblehead Homestead are probably the ones I watch most often, other than Justin Rhodes. But do we even need to mention that? So anyway, yes, peppermint is good for a fever. Well, there you go. I did have it as antiseptic and things along those lines. So Wholesome Roots, if you want to check out what I put on the web page, the link's down below. We've gone over it a little bit, so I don't want to repeat with everybody in here. Virginia in the house now with Creating Essence. Creating Essence, hello. Oh my gosh. Well, we were about to wrap up, but people keep joining in. Well, you had questions for Rose, right?
No, Rose had a question. Oh, that's right. Last week, Rose, you were asking about the turmeric and pepper mix, and I did find it. It's piperine, or piperine, Piperine, makes up 5% of black pepper, helps with absorption of curcumin, which is the main thing in turmeric. It makes up about 5% there. So yes, you are right. Pepper helps turmeric get absorbed. In fact, piperine, or piperine, however you say it, helps a lot of things that aren't easily absorbed. It does help a lot of things get absorbed. So maybe we should just eat more black pepper in our food. Maybe we should just all chew betel to clean our breath and our teeth. That's the Indian blend of like whole herbs and spices that sometimes you see it at an Indian restaurant. Basically, people chew it sort of out of habit, but they also chew it to clean and refresh their breath, and it's got fennel and a whole variety of things in it. Unfortunately, then typically you spit it out everywhere, so it's sort of like the tobacco cup issue. But the flavors can be overpowering, but there must be some decent herb benefits and I'm guessing there's a lot of antiseptic in there. I bet Coco knows about betel. We'll have to ask see if she responds to that one, because Coco makes a lot of Indian food, or does prep for a lot and cooks a lot herself.
We made, by the way, was it Monday night? I guess we had made curry, a lamb curry with lamb from a local, very traditional provider, and made a really nice throw together lamb curry.
Lamb curry, lamb from that, our own potatoes, pumpkin.
Our own pumpkins.
Our own pumpkins were in there, so it was pretty local.
Fresh ginger and turmeric, as well as dried turmeric.
Yeah.
And then garlic and onion and a whole bunch of, cumin and coriander and fresh cilantro and the whole bit. It wasn't from any particular region of the world. It was kind of a throw together.
Two family, you're asking if anyone knows if mugwort is good for anything. I'd have to look it up, but I will say traditionally things ending in wart were used medicinally traditionally. So I'd have to look that up specifically. Rose might know the answer to that. I'm not sure. I've been looking up one thing at a time. So that's kind of been my goal, is just to share what I learn as I look it up, and looking up one thing at a time. I do not claim to be a expert and in any of this. I'm just sharing what I've read in.
I don't know what sensen is, by the way. Look that up.
What are you?
From Coco.
Oh, okay. Sensen. I feel like I've heard of it. Sensens. Well, she's asking Cher from Two Family. Anyway. Did I miss someone else?
Old Time Candy, breath freshener, licorice.
Oh, I can't stand licorice.
Okay, so it's a licorice, yeah.
The Dutch have some nice, disgusting licorice as well.
Single, double, and triple salty licorice?
Yeah, pretty much.
If you've never had double or triple salty licorice, try that. Oh my gosh, that'll wake you up.
The Dutch licorice is disgusting.
They have sweet and salty. It's all black licorice, not the red stuff.
They have white little licorice candies too,
yeah.
but it's really salty. Rose says mugwort's good for something. Yep. It's pretty much, anything ending anything ending in wort. Wort is was used for something medicinal at some point, because that was kind of what that root word meant. It was medicinal.
So sensen was the original breath perfume and the first commercial breath freshener in the U.S. in the 1890s. And it was desired by singers and speakers and a variety of other people. Okay. But basically licorice-based flavored.
Okay. Two Family loves black licorice. You should try the Dutch stuff.
Masked all that smoking and drinking going on in the 1890s, too.
I want to say something with the mind or sleep from mugwort. Or feminine. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. Maybe I'll put it on my list to look up. Mugwort is for sleep often, but also used to ward off evil spirits. Okay, there we go. Creating essence.
I think we have mugwort all over the place, right?
Not that I know of. We might, but that actually looks like one of our versions.
That looks really familiar.
Oh, it looks kind
10 Reasons to Grow Mugwort is a YouTube plant abundance 4-minute video.
He's looking things up on
I haven't seen it yet, so I can't vouch for it, but there you go, 10 reasons.
Yep.
And people put it in smudge sticks, possibly, too.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, so if you do have specific herbs, wild or cultivated, or spices for that matter, since I've been counting those, any specific ones you want me to look up? I'm just doing once a week because my brain can only absorb so much, and I can only look up so much during a week. But if you do have any requests on things, I was thinking about doing some of the, what was I was mentioning earlier? Sumac. I was thinking about doing something on sumac.
Something that actually tastes good.
I love sumac. Oh my gosh. So, and I do have pictures of 2 different types of sumac that we have here on property. So I'll do that next weekend. But if you guys do have any specific requests for herbs you want me to look up, let me know. I can add mugwort to everything.
Mugwort is toxic in large amounts.
Well, half everything is toxic in large amounts. You have mugwort everywhere.
for weak infusions.
Wave that mug everywhere when the X's appear. Okay, it's funny.
Bitter. To season fats, meats, and fish in limited amounts. It has been used to flavor beer in place of hops.
There's a lot of things in that list.
Yeah, it looks like it's fairly usable in small doses.
Yarrow was used in place of hops to flavor beer as well.
Infused with wormwood sometimes.
Okay.
And it's also Chinese and Korean.
Coco says mugwort in baths for achy joints.
Healing properties. Just seeing that.
I'll add it to the list. It'll go on one of these weeks. I think next week will be sumac, though, because I want to do some wild ones as well. Maybe add grape leaves. I can add grape leaves to that. We have wild grapes in our backyard. We're talking about...
it is used as a smudge, and then you put it on your skin.
We're talking about, making some stuffed grape leaves as well. You could combine it with your lamb and from our local farm.
You need something strong like lamb if you were going to
rice, and we don't grow lemon in the area, and we don't really grow too much rice in the area, but we do have the mint. So, I love my stuffed grape leaves. Ginger, we could definitely, that's been on my list, so we'll make sure we keep that on the list.
Big fans of fresh ginger.
Yes. I love Thai food, which tends to have a lot of ginger in it as well. Made it for my Israeli ex two-family homestead. There you go. Well, I mean, stuffed grape leaves is all over the Middle East, so Israel included. The Lebanese have it.
The whole Mediterranean, not just the Middle East.
Go up the whole Mediterranean. Go up into Detroit, and you could get some really good Lebanese food in West Detroit.
There's a specific chemical found in the grape leaves, and it's skipping my mind what it is. But there is a...
You're going to be looking up grape leaves on the spot. So we have sumac, mugwort, grape leaves. I wrote grapes, not grapes. Grape leaves. I can look up Sweet Sicily too, because that's grown wild here. It's in a few of my videos, my foraging videos with Nabi. Okay. How do you say that? Is it like Middle Eastern pronunciation, like Glakayim?
I think so, yeah.
Or I'm probably murdering that. Both my parents, they met in Arabic class. Don't ask me to speak it. I don't know anything along those lines. Grape leaves for crisp pickles. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times they're put in pickles, and that is because it does have chemical properties that
help keep it crisp.
Yes, I do know that. Plus, it lightly flavors.
10 points to creating essence for spelling it correctly. It's a silent C. So Haim. Okay, I don't know. Is it one of those guttural H's that they have in the Middle East? I don't know. Going back to check out Elderman Farms. Yes, we should be wrapping up. We're way past our ending time. Elderman Farms is on. They start at 9. The tannins in it, but
sure.
A lot of things have tannins in it, but
they do have tannins. That's why you pick them young.
Yeah. You
can only eat the young ones, but there is a chemical compound in it. I know we talked about it in food classes, and I
can't remember what it was.
I can't remember what it was. We were getting these stuffed grape leaves that were rolled long like this and really skinny.
Yeah.
I think there was a Turkish manufacturer sending them in New York. They were amazing.
So, Coco wasn't feeling well on Thursday. Made sambar of sorts. Added canned stuffed grape leaves for acidity and slurped for the sore throat. Tana's why pickles are crisp. Okay, cool. Okay, so we are going to wrap up here. Oh, there we go. La Kiem. Okay. The hard CH. Awesome. if Solomon was a girl, he would have been. Oh my gosh! Yes, yeah. Don't get me into the Middle Eastern, Hebrew and Arabic and all those pronunciations.
We appreciate the culture, we appreciate the food, but God, we don't.
Don't ask me to try to speak it.
Language that is not. Don't know anything about it.
Oh, the languages I took French in high school and remember nothing. I took Dutch in college, went to the Netherlands, and I hardly remember anything.
I do know if a friend ever says there's a good restaurant around and that's Middle Eastern of any origin and wants to go, I'm all about going because I know the food will be great.
If anyone wants to meet us in Detroit and go to a Middle Eastern restaurant, I'd love to go. Anyway.
Well, we used to go. Jerusalem Garden in Ann Arbor was my go-to for falafels.
Yeah.
There's about 4 or 5 places making them, but that was kind of the one I liked.
Yeah.
I think that was Israeli, I believe.
We have
Jerusalem Garden. Hello.
Yeah, it is Israeli.
That was an Israeli.
Yeah.
But I think their falafel sandwich was made more like a Lebanese one, I believe, but slight differences.
Okay, 2 family. Yes, had Hebrew once a week. Only thing I picked up was from working with an Israeli coworker in New Jersey. So just a little bit on that. Yes, Creating Essence. We are on Instagram. You can look up Part-Time Permies all as one word on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We have a group and a page on Facebook. Haven't done a whole lot with that other than keep posting my videos and pictures to that, as well as when I'm posting to YouTube or to Instagram. But if we want to start discussions, if there's questions about Herbs a Week there, we can always put it up there as well.
So prickly pear still going in Ann Arbor. I don't know. We don't get back to Ann Arbor that much. I've been in and out, but I haven't eaten downtown.
And my family
in quite a while.
My family all lives on the edges of Ann Arbor, so we don't really get downtown.
Yeah, prickly pear. Good question. I don't know.
Okay, so if you guys want to join us, I think I have links to the Instagram and the Facebook pages below, if not just Instagram at least, and our webpage is below. So awesome, and Finite World just listed our Instagram page right there for you. Cool. Yes, it's still open, Finite World says, because they're on the east side of the state.
Okay.
Yeah, downtown Ann Arbor's nice. We could reminisce about that one. I went to high school downtown Ann Arbor, so I was a community high grad, by the way. I know you are Huron, he's Huron. My sisters are both Huron. I skated with a bunch of people from Pioneer, because they seem to all be on the other side of town.
And now there's a 3rd high school in town. I don't even know what it's called.
4th high school in town.
4th.
You forgot mine.
Well, yours was the...
Mine was tiny,
the little one.
The tiny 100 student per year one. Yeah, I forget. Anyway, so, okay, I'm trying to see if there's anything else on here. Sumacs next week. We'll get on that. Start doing research on it. All I know is it tastes like lemonade. But just tagged us on Instagram, so that's probably why my phone just went. Cool. Awesome. I'll check that out. And everybody else, I think we're going to have, well, for those of you in Michigan, we might be getting cold again in a day or two, but we're going to get it warm again next weekend, so happy about that. Feels like spring almost. I will talk to you guys next week. If you join us back here, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we will go over sumac. I still haven't done the research on it, but we'll go over sumac and go through it then. So thanks everyone for joining us. We will say good night and see you next time.
Good night.